Anti-Semitism is a scourge across Canada, and Toronto is unfortunately one of the hotspots. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. Ever since October 7th, 2023, anti-Semitism has seen a dramatic increase right across the country. I've watched the hate marches parade through the streets of Toronto. We've seen synagogues under attack, Jewish day schools have shots fired at them, businesses targeted as well. Why is this happening? How do we fight back against it? That's one of the questions that Rabbi Meir Dubrawsky is trying to figure out. He is with the Yorkville Jewish Center and is in the middle of launching a program with business leader Steve Hudson on fighting back against it, but in a different way. Rabbi, thanks for the time today.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
So fill me in on what you're trying to accomplish. There are a lot of groups that deal with anti-Semitism. How is yours going to be different? And perhaps maybe before we get into that, what is anti-Semitism? What have you been experiencing over the past couple of years? And probably something you've dealt with your whole life, but especially the last 2.5 years. What has it been like in Toronto?
So I have to be honest, it's not something I experienced my whole life. I'm born and raised in Vancouver, and anti-Semitism was something we learned in school. I went to a Jewish school out west, and it was more of a concept, less of something that I felt day to day. And it's very concerning to know that my kids are being raised in a world where I had to teach them what October 7th was all about, what it means that people want us dead for, to be very blunt. And it's not easy to teach a 6-year-old this, but it's something that they hear, and you can only shield them so much and so far. The past 2.5 years for me, the greatest challenge wasn't so much October 7th, but October 8th. October 7th happened, and we were all, words can't describe the feelings we felt. The worst atrocity in my lifetime, and many Jews' lifetimes, substantially older than me. As you said, it's the worst atrocity to the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And somewhere deep down, I felt that this is it. As tragic and as horrific as October 7th was, on that day, I thought to myself, wow, we finally gained the world's sympathy. They're finally going to understand us and be on our side. And to me, almost equally as horrifying as October 7th was the response, to see within days before Israel even responded, to see the reaction that was. And I don't think it's political to say this, that it was very disheartening, and it continues to be, when we just want to be citizens of society like everyone else. We're just, I believe, great contributors to Canadian society as everyone else, and we just want to live our life, and to be singled out, and to need to up our security, and to do a public menorah lighting in Yorkville and be fearful of what may happen is terrible. Is terrible.
As I've told many Jewish friends since October 7th, and I've visited many synagogues and community centers, and I'm always shocked by the level of security that is required. And the line that I use, and everyone gets a laugh, is, well, when I grew up going to Catholic Mass, you would only see a cop if they showed up for Mass. Officer O'Malley was coming to Mass. He wasn't showing up in uniform for security. And so it's hard to comprehend for an awful lot of people what the Jewish community has been going through. But your goal, my understanding anyway, is you are looking to do a different type of community outreach and programming to combat anti-Semitism that takes a forward-looking, positive view. Explain that.
So my approach since the founding of the Yorkville Jewish Center was to have more of a universal message. When we do high holidays, when we have our high holiday services at the Windsor Arms Hotel every year, I usually open up by saying there's a Roman Catholic, a Greek Orthodox, a Russian Orthodox, and a Shiite Muslim, a Sunni Muslim, and a Jew in a room. And everyone thinks it's the beginning of a joke, but I say that's actually the room here today. And something I'm very proud of is some of the biggest, largest supporters that we have at the Yorkville Jewish Center are not Jewish. And one thing I've wanted to create is a messaging that could transcend the Jewish community, have more of a universal messaging. There's so much beauty to the Torah and so much beauty to Jewish spiritualism that I love to explain to all and love to share with all. When I had the opportunity to meet Steve and to become good friends with Steve,
This
and
is Steve Hudson, who is helping build this, the business leader.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
Steve Hudson, who's not only an unbelievably generous individual, not only a great business leader, but just a great person all around, and who I'm blessed to call a friend. Um, I wanted to take that same universal message and use it. Try a new approach to combat anti-Semitism. Just putting out press releases and fighting back and fighting the fire with fire is important to a certain extent. And there's many great organizations doing it, but we wanted to do something a little different. And what we wanted to do is inform and educate. So much of the anti-Semitism that exists is through pure ignorance, not knowing any better, and just following that herd mentality. And if
Yeah,
others are doing it, let me follow through. I had something I actually never publicly shared, but I was asked to join I thought I'm hip and cool, but I didn't know about a big streamer. I didn't even know that whole terminology of streaming, but there's a young streamer who happens to be Jewish. His name's Aiden Ross. And I was asked to go on Aiden Ross's live stream and teach about Shabbat. And it was before the high holidays, so I was teaching about the high holidays. And he's insanely popular. There was, I think, 70,000 people. He just turns it on, and 70,000 young people joining live with
wow.
no heads up. And I think by the end of it, there were millions of views. And the comments were coming. In fact, I'm seeing his laptop with him. We're sitting in front of the laptop, and I see the comments come in. And I couldn't concentrate because the most horrifying, vile comments were coming in so fast and furious. And what was so hard for me is most of these young kids most probably had never met a Jew, don't know any Jews, don't know much about Judaism, don't know much, probably barely know what the Holocaust is, have no history in the Jewish people, and yet just follow the herd, follow what everyone else is doing, and therefore we'll post I'm not even going to get into the specifics of it, and I think it's just it's ignorance. I try to believe the world is overall a generally good place, and I
I
think
would agree with you that a lot of it is ignorance, and the fact that many have never even, to their knowledge at least, encountered a Jew. Uh,
correct.
every religion has haters. You can, especially in the online world where everyone has haters. Mother Teresa would have haters in the online world, just helping the poor. And, but from my experience, it takes a different level and a different tone aimed at the Jewish community. And I think it is just that lack of experiential knowledge of, oh, you're Jewish. What does that mean? How does that operate? What do you believe? How do you do it?
And I'm complete agreement. I think that I've been asked if Jews have horns by real people, and it's happened before. I've been in Uber
You
recently.
don't?
I can take a well. That's why I'll keep the hat on so you don't see them. But I recently,
That is a serious question that someone asked
well,
you.
I'll take it to, and I'll tell you a recent encounter in an Uber where someone, and I did not think there was any malicious intent. I really don't believe so. I was in an Uber looking the way I look, and the driver asked me if I'm part of the people that own all the diamonds in the world. And I said, please let me know who those people are because I want to get to know them because I want some of the diamonds and I want to own all the diamonds in the world. And he asked, and I did not take it poorly, caught a little off guard, but I decided to view it as an opportunity to educate and communicate, and we ended up having a great conversation. And I said, no, maybe you have seen it, and wherever it is you come from, that they might say so about the Jewish people. That's not true. I'm just Jewish. I'm actually a rabbi. I'm a rabbi. You're driving me to my synagogue, and I ended up explaining to him a bit about he had never heard of a rabbi before. He had never didn't know much about, and I viewed it as an educational opportunity.
And so, are you going to try and have those kinds of experiences or educational opportunities here in Toronto, where we've seen so much of it? Are you going on university campuses? Are you going on to schools, business centers? What are you doing?
So that's so that two of the verticals are precisely that. Two of the verticals of the initiative, firstly, is called a Stand Up, Stand Together initiative. And the reason why it's called a Stand Up, Stand Together fighting anti-Semitism initiative is that we can only do this together. The Jewish people are very small in numbers. And I recently saw the clip where on Joe Rogan, I forget which guest it was, where Joe Rogan was under the impression that there were, I think he said, I don't like to be accurate in my statement, but he's
That was with God Sod.
God saw
Um,
it, and
yeah,
he
and
asked him
God
how many.
is he asked how many Jews are in the world, and Joe Rogan thought there were about 1.5 billion instead of what it's under 16 million is my
14,
understanding.
14, they say, is the most recent count. It's actually a decreasing number. And we can't do this alone. We don't have the numbers to do this alone. People think we have the influence, whether we do or don't. Yes, many. I'm proud to say that there's many influential Jews out there. But if we ran the banks and we run whatever it is people think we do, and the media and so on, trust me, we're doing a very poor job if that's the case,
Yeah, if you
because
guys run
we're
the
not
media, you need to sort things out. And by the way, I
correct.
work in the media. No, you don't. In fact, after October 7th, we made the conscious decision at the Toronto Sun that it wasn't up to, colleagues like Laurie Goldstein to be writing about anti-Semitism. It was up to the non-Jews. And I think that my view of anti-Semitism is it's a problem for Jews, but anti-Semitism is not a Jewish problem. It is a problem of those of us who are not Jewish, not being informed, being ignorant, being hateful. Um, and so it's up to those of us who aren't Jewish to speak out against it and to help curb it.
And precisely that. Anti-Semitism might be the starting point, but it's never the ending point. As they say, it starts with the Saturday people, but always continues to the Sunday people. And historically, that's always been the case. When there's a rise in anti-Semitism, it could seem isolated and unique to the Jewish community, but it never ends with the Jewish community. And you asked if we're going on university campuses or schools or businesses, and we're doing all the above. The idea is first, one initiative is going to businesses on Bay Street, law firms, accounting firms, financial institutions, and just spending half an hour giving them a crash course on Judaism, giving them that knowledge and understanding of what Judaism is, what it means to be a rabbi, who am I? And my goal with that is I'm no different than you. I have the same desires, wishes, wants as you. Um, I may come from, I may be a different religion, may a different background, but that doesn't make me any different. Educate, inform, hopefully inspire, then do a Q&A thereafter. The Q&A to me is equally as important, if not more important, than whatever it is I'm going to share. And hopefully that person leaves, whoever it is, leaves that day, leaves that lunch, and walks away with more of a knowledge and more of an understanding. And on the micro level, we can make that difference where they now go to their friends and family and say, hey, I met a rabbi today. He's a cool guy. My understanding of everything Jewish related might be a little skewed and mistaken. And he can, on the micro level, continue to create other micros, but the micros create the macro. And one at a time can make a big difference. And we're going to do the same in schools, where you go to school, start them young, break the stigma young, inform them young, because you got a 10-year-old child that doesn't know much about religion at all. Definitely doesn't know much about Judaism. Give them that information. Let them know the horrors and the issues of anti-Semitism. Let them know how the impact that the Jewish community has made in Toronto and in Canada. And hopefully they too will go to their families, their friends, and change slowly, one by one, person by person. It makes a difference on a larger scale.
Where can people find out more information about this?
Standupstandtogether.ca.
Okay. And of course, an important part of this is these types of programs do cost money. I know that Steve has made a very generous donation. Perhaps you can tell us about that. But also, you are looking for extra funding. You're doing a fundraising campaign. Tell us about both of those.
So when I first met Steve and he immediately wanted to get involved and help make a difference, I said, Steve, I can't quantify support more than just dollars. To me, I said, Steve, your support is not just about the dollars and cents. Your support means that much more. When we have support from within the community, it's obviously extremely meaningful. But when we have support from beyond the Jewish community, when we have individuals that don't need to take a stand, that can live a comfortable life without dealing with the rise in anti-Semitism, that won't be impacted by it, that means the world. And that's why Steve getting involved and wanting to fight anti-Semitism. Yes, Steve had some incidents as a non-Jew where he felt the impact of anti-Semitism, but he can continue on with his life. And the fact that he decided that I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to hopefully turn the tide on anti-Semitism, that means the world. And we're so grateful to have him as our underwriting partner and the premier sponsor of the Stand Up Stand Together initiative. It's in Steve's name. It's a Steve Hudson Stand Up Stand Together initiative, and we're so grateful for that. In response to the support, the more we have, the more we can do. And as mentioned, it's not just about getting support from. It's not only the dollar amount. It's knowing that there's those from beyond the Jewish community that stand with us. And I want to conclude by saying that I lost my dad at a young age, and I experienced grief at a young age, grief and loss at a young age. And what happened when I experienced loss, and I've heard this from many others as well, is that there's a sense, sometimes rational, sometimes irrational sense of loneliness, that you're going through this alone, that you're all alone. And it's a really painful feeling. And I know that many Jewish people are feeling that same feeling right now, feeling that we're doing this alone, that we're all alone in this big world. Everyone's against us. Whether that's rational or irrational, obviously it's irrational. Obviously, we have a lot of friends. But you know what the best thing is? Those that stand up and let us know that. Those that even take a moment to reach out to their Jewish friends and let them know that they're not alone. Whatever a donation amount is appreciated because it shows and sends the message that we are not alone. And the only way that we're going to make the ultimate difference is, like I started with, we don't have the numbers. We need allies and we need supporters from beyond the community where we can get the numbers, where we can have the numbers to make that big difference.
All right. Well,
And I feel together we can.
you have allies with us at the Toronto Sun,
Thank you.
and I hope you and the whole Jewish community in Toronto know that and understand that. Thanks for the time, Rabbi. I encourage everyone to go and check out the website. Give what you can and help make a difference. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the time.
All right. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Keep it positive, please. And make sure you share this on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.